Hello there, my name is James and welcome to my channel. Today I would like to explain what biotechnology is, what is the use of biotechnology, how is it applied in the real world, what are job prospects in this field of biotechnology, and just trying to create discussion. Uh, so for context, I am a undergraduate studying biotechnology at University Malaya, Malaysia. And I think it's best if I can cover what the definition of biotechnology is because different people will give you different answers, especially on the internet or maybe in real life when you meet someone who studies bioscience. And it's fair because biotechnology is such a broad field. There is no one specific go-to answer, and it varies according to people. So biotechnology, in my opinion, is a multidisciplinary field which comprises different skill sets, and it basically covers a lot of um, different techniques from different fields. It's not necessarily bio all the time. It can be chemistry, it can be physics, and as the name implies, it's applying technology to manipulate biological substances. That's why it's called technology in the end. And sometimes people would also refer to biotechnology as a way, as a mean to manipulate life itself. And I'll go to that later. So from the terminology itself, biotechnology, I would say that it comprises around 50% biological knowledge, and the remaining 50% is the technology part. Okay, moving on to the next slide. Well, if you search up online, biotechnology is segmented into different colors. And so by now, I believe you could imagine biotechnology as a broad umbrella term where it branches into different segments. So we have red biotechnology, pink, green, white, gray, yellow, brown, blue, gold, purple, dark, and light. But I will only focus on a few of this because some of it isn't really relevant to my studies at this point of time. So moving on to the next slide. And if I were to categorize different sectors in biotechnology, I would categorize them as animal biotechnology, plant biotechnology, food biotechnology, medical biotechnology, industrial biotechnology, bioinformatics, and policy making. So let's go to the first point, which is animal biotechnology. It's basically manipulating the genome of animals. It can be marine animals, or it can be land animals, and basically we change a certain part of the gene so that they bear or we cancel out we knock out the genes from the animal so they can possess certain traits that are more ideal. For example, they are more disease resistant, or if we want to produce a certain product from these animals, or maybe we want to enhance their reproduction, like the breeding between animals. Pretty interesting. I learned a lot about animal biotechnology in class, and let me give you one example, and that is the we scientists have manipulated the genes in goats so that they can produce milk that has properties that shares properties similar to that of a silk, a spider silk. There's also yeah, we learn about tuna fish. We also learn about like the tuna fishes that are extremely big due to genetic manipulation. We also learn about artificial insemination. So we see how different sperm qualities can affect the the reproduction of animals. Can we store them in freezers and like cryo freeze them at 196 negative degrees Celsius so that it's easier to transport the sperm. And yeah, it's a lot of things for animals. Basically, anything you can think of, biotechnology can turn it into reality. And same goes for plants. Plants is more towards yield. It's more towards the production, disease resistance, and so on. And we also learned that since so many plant yield is turned into waste, like 30, 40, or even more of them turned into waste. So we are still trying to figure out ways to mitigate losses, post-harvest loss, for example. And it's fun because you can see how biotech directly influences the agriculture through plant biotechnology, recombinant DNA, and so on. It's the same as animal where you knock out the gene or you insert the gene using biotechnology technologies. And then there's food biotechnology where we apply biotechnology to create new food, for example, like mushroom burger patties or certain meat substitutes for the vegetarians, or maybe even 3D printing food that falls under biotechnology. And there's medical biotechnology where we create drugs, we create vaccines. Um, by using by manipulating microbes to produce certain types of drug. Mm. And then there's industrial biotechnology where we manipulate microorganisms to produce certain polymers, for example, enzymes technology, um, or maybe we valorize waste, turning them into something valuable. That's industrial biotechnology. And then there's bioinformatics where we analyze big data, yeah, omics data, and and compile them in a database so that scientists all around the world can use this data for their research. And then there's also policymakers where they regulate the market, or they regulate certain ethical issues related to biotechnology. So here is a list of biotech companies, the most successful ones, and as you can see, most of them are pharmaceutical related. They put more emphasis on oncology, vaccines, and drug discovery, drug making. But biotech isn't all that. Biotech can also be related to polymers and like green environmental friendly solutions too. So that's not all about biotechnology. And here is how I view biotechnology as a pipeline. So first we have the first stage, which is R&D, all your research, designing new microbes, new technology, and then it goes to upstream inoculation of bacteria, meaning you culture the bacteria so that it multiplies. And then there's midstream, quality checking, quality assessing, the quality of your microbial culture. And then it passes on to downstream, your harvesting of cells, your purification, bioprocess. And last but not least, you have the sales and commercialization. So what I mean by that is, let's look at the first point, R&D. Scientists, we create something or we innovate something. For example, we discovered that this bacteria can deliver certain drugs to targeted cells. That's the designing part. Or maybe we found out that these biomarkers that can be used to detect certain diseases, certain cancers like CRC, colorectal cancer. So that's the discovery. And then once we have created a discovery, once we have made innovations, we tend to scale them up so that it could be sent for commercialization. And in order for us to do that, we have to venture into bioprocess. So the first step in bioprocess is trying to multiply the amount of cells we have. And to do that, we inoculate our bacteria or the things we want in a culture, and then we try to uh, multiply them. So that's upstream, basically trying to prepare everything, the condition of the bacteria, whether it needs more carbon source, whether it needs more nitrogen source so that the bacteria can survive. That's all upstream. Moving on, you have midstream, which I think it's mostly related to QC and QA, so that you have the specialists inspecting the condition of your cells. Are they having a fun time in the culture and so on? Is it up to standards? So once everything is okay, once everything passes the check, then you can pass it on to downstream. Downstream is basically getting the product, harvesting your cells or your enzymes, your product or whatsoever, and then you purify them to the highest degree possible through a few steps, for example, like washing them or through filtration and so on. And then you also have the analysis to check whether your product is exactly what you want. If you're trying to harvest certain biopolymers, for example, you want to check for its flexibility, the number of carbons connected to one another, and such. So once everything's okay, you can then scale from pilot to commercial level. And if you are successful, then you can turn over to sales. You can market your product, and people will start buying. For example, your drugs, and so on. So, as a biotechnology major, uh, these are the jobs that I can work in. One of it is being a R&D, research and development scientist. Either I work in institutions like universities or work in lab settings like for companies. So aside from that, I can also do clinical work, for example, like screening, doing diagnostic tests in hospitals or clinics. And next is biomanufacturing. It's somewhat related to bioprocess and enzyme technology, where you mass produce bacteria or enzymes or certain biological substances to to get a certain product, and that can be sold to and marketed. Or you can become a QA QC specialist, where you specialize in checking the quality of your batch, your culture batch. And or you can also turn into a regulatory affairs officer or policymaker, so that once you have all of this science knowledge about how important biotechnology is or how dangerous it is, you can urge the public to gain awareness, or you can somehow urge the rules to be changed so that it coincides with what the scientists need, and whether it or not it meets what the public want. And there's also bioinformatics and data analysis. So what I call this is the dry lab work. There's a difference between wet lab and dry lab. Wet lab means you work in laboratory settings, you actually do the pipetting and such. For dry lab, you're basically looking at data, trying to compile them, clean the data, and then try to find something from the huge pile of data, and then store them in a database. And then there's sales and marketing. So we need people from biotech or bioscience to do sales and marketing, because we want these people to convey the message and talk to the consumers regarding the science aspect, and try to filter it down so that everyone could understand. And of course, there's also lecturers and educators' job. And last but not least, biotechs, biotechnology specialists can also turn into startups. They can build their own company, and I think this applies for not only bioscience related work, but also to every field uh, in that aspect. So that's the end of the video. To summarize, biotechnology is a pipeline consisting of a lot of different segments. So even if you study biotechnology with your friends, you might not end up in the same workplace, because there's so many things to do in biotechnology, bioscience in general. And for the definition of biotechnology, I think it differs from person to person, because there's no one specific definition of biotechnology. And even as an undergraduate, the more classes I attend, the more the definition changes over time. So I can't really give a specific answer, but I hope this video answers most questions related to biotechnology. And that's it. If you want to see more, see more about my progress, to find out more about what I do as a biotechnology major, follow my YouTube channel and see how it goes. So thank you and goodbye.